What is up, everybody? My name is Steven Dillinger. I'm the host of Public Enemies Podcast, where we break down, recap MMA fights, and I like to do fight companions as well. So tune into those. I love doing those. I love watching fights with my friends, coaches, teammates, and talking about them. So I'm going to try and do those as much as I can. I'm trying to do some for UFC fights, fight night, pay-per-views, kickboxing, glory kickboxing fights, Muay Thai fights, grappling matches, anything related to combat sports I'm trying to do. Fight companions with me and my friends. Nothing gets me more excited than a fight companion. I love watching Joe Rogan's and Brennan Schaub's. They do a great job of doing their shows, but I just feel like they don't do them enough, which really motivated me to do my own thing and do my own show, hang out with friends. I trained with people for a long time that I never even really got to know them. Some very successful in MMA as a sport, and they come on the show and talk about their life, things that I never even knew, and things that should be out to the public. I mean, most of them have some wild stories. And it's just a great place to get my friends on a platform because their stories are really what drives this channel. Let's get into UFC 295 last weekend. You had Diego Lopez beating Pat Sabatini, KO in the first round. Everybody was kind of expecting that to be a grappling match. I know Diego Lopez is a monster on the ground, but Pat Sabatini is a really good wrestler, and he's has a very good top game. So we figured Pat probably would shoot for a takedown, and Diego would try and defend off his back a lot of the fight. But boy, was that not the case. Diego came out swinging. Diego has some very powerful hands. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. He's very powerful. He has technical striking, very crisp striking. Pat Sabatini's no joke on the feet either. A lot of the times we see that two grapplers get together and match up together, it really turns into a stand-up fight a lot of times, and that's what we saw, at least for the 1 minute 30 seconds that fight was. Diego Lopez KO'd Pat Sabatini in the first round, and that in my opinion was one of the breakout fights for Diego Lopez. His first few fights in the UFC were very exciting. Beating a guy in Pat Sabatini really puts him up there. He's definitely somebody I'm going to keep watching. He's a monster. He's a savage. He's fun to watch. He can knock you out on the feet. Really good wrestling, really good grappling, and submits a lot of guys. So I'm excited to see him in his next fight. I'm excited to see Pat Sabatini, a Philadelphia alumni, come back and fight again as well. He got caught earlier in the first round. You know, it happens. I can't wait to see him come back and see who he fights next. I think he's still going to have an exciting career in the UFC. Next fight, you got Benet Saint Denis versus Matt Frevola. Matt Frevola is a New York alumni. They're fighting in Madison Square Garden, so he's fighting in his hometown. That was a really exciting matchup. And Saint Denis got it done in the first round. Another 1 minute 30 second KO. That's odd. I didn't realize they were both 1 minute 30 seconds, but that was an exciting fight. Again, it happens. I can't wait to see Matt Frevola come back. We've seen him come back after losses like Terrence McKinney and come back and do very well. So, yeah, he got knocked out in the first round. I can't wait to see him come back and see who he fights next. There's still a lot of exciting matchups there for him. Saint Denis, he passed a very hard test. He's now 13-1. Good for him. He's definitely one of the big prospects coming up that I can't wait to see. There's a lot of exciting matchups for him in that division as well. Then you had Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. Andrade ended up getting it done KO in the second round, 3 minutes, 15 seconds. A lot. I see some experts and analysts kind of hating on Mackenzie Dern. I saw some TikTok clips and things like that, kind of dogging on Mackenzie Dern's striking. She hasn't been striking very long. I feel like she made big leaps in how far she came already in her striking. If people are trying to say she'll never be able to catch up to the top dogs because she's already too far behind in striking, I think once she start putting her punches and kicks into her grappling, kind of like a GSP. I know that's a big analogy, but I think she can learn to mix it up a little better. I think her striking will get better. I think she can learn to mix it up a little more. And I think she's going to be a lot more successful than people are willing to give her credit to. She beat some very exciting strikers before this. So, I mean, she just had an all-out stand-up war with, what's her name? Name's on the tip of my tongue. I always do this. I'm going to have to look it up. She had an exciting fight with Angela Hill where that was all stand-up, and she passed that test. Angela Hill is no joke. We saw Angela Hill destroy some women on the feet, and Mackenzie Dern did very well against her, ended up winning by unanimous decision. So I think, yeah, when you lose a fight, everybody's going to dog on you. It is what it is. I think it's pretty unfair because when she beats Angela Hill on the feet, nobody says anything. So it's just kind of a case of what happened lately, and Jessica Andrade ended up getting the knockout. Congrats to her. I think Mackenzie Dern hasn't reached her potential yet. I think we'll see her have an exciting fight or an exciting career in the UFC. More than what people and experts and analysts are giving her credit for, in my opinion. Time will tell, but I think she's better than people are giving her credit. Then in the co-main event, we had Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. Man, what a fight that was, huh? How exciting was that? Two guys on 2-week notice taking the fight because John Jones and Stipe Miocic fell out. They had to put a fight together really quick. They put together Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall for the interim heavyweight championship. And what an exciting fight that was. In my opinion, before this fight, I thought Sergey was going to be able to overpower him a little bit. I know Tom Aspinall is probably the fastest heavyweight in the division. He kind of reminds me of like a Frank Mir, where he has really good striking. He's really fast, and he's super good on the ground, really good grappling. But we saw different. Tom Aspinall came out. I believe he got wobbled a little bit in the beginning, but he wasn't too hurt and ended up winning KO, knocked out Sergey Pavlovich, and what an impressive win that was for Tom Aspinall. He's now 14-3 and the interim heavyweight champion. So Stipe and John Jones are supposed to fight for the heavyweight belt, and then Tom Aspinall is supposed to be able to fight the winner. I could see John Jones and Stipe not happening, to be honest. I could see John getting healed up, and then Stipe either hurt or fall out, or somebody falls out. And they're not going to want to keep Tom Aspinall on the back burner as an interim champion for too long. I think if that fight doesn't happen this next time around, Tom Aspinall is fighting for the real belt, whether it's against Stipe or John Jones or even Cyril Gane or whoever wants to step in. Kind of like what we saw this weekend in the main event, where Jamal Hill vacated his title when Yuri Prohaska and Alex Pereira started. So I can see something like that happening with Tom Aspinall. Those guys are so big, and when they train so hard, they're kind of privy to injury. We see guys like Cain Velasquez that are their own biggest worst enemy, being that they train so hard and they're so big that they get hurt a lot. So in my opinion, if I had to bet on it, I would say Tom Aspinall probably fights for the belt next, and John Jones and Stipe doesn't happen. In my opinion, I could just see it going that way for some reason. But I'm excited to see whoever he fights next. I don't care who, if it's John Jones or Stipe Miocic, that's great. But I could see him fighting somebody else for the real heavyweight belt. In the main event, we had Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira. Again, before the fight started, I figured Yuri Prohaska was going to be a little bit bigger than what Alex was used to, even though Alex is coming off a win to Jan Blachowicz. I thought Yuri was going to be a little bit quicker than Alex expected. Alex is just so good, man. So good on the feet. He's really becoming well-rounded. He got clipped, kind of went back to the fence, and ended up hitting Yuri Prohaska with that left hook, dropped him, and then finished it off with elbows. And a lot of people are saying it's an early stoppage. At the time, I thought it was an early stoppage. People are saying now that the fight's over. Yuri Prohaska was saying, I was out. It is what it is. But we've seen Yuri hurt before and kind of come back. So I wish that fight would have just went a little bit longer. Let's not have any bad taste. You know, I don't want Yuri to get hurt more than he already was, but let's just not leave any questions in the air. Let's not leave any questions unanswered. Let's let it go just a little bit longer, not to where he's going to get too hurt, but see if he can recover, see if he can come back. I don't think it was bad stoppage in hindsight, but I would like to see it go just a tad bit longer just to see what happens. I mean, it's a championship fight for the light heavyweight belt. I wish it would have gone just a little bit longer if Yuri didn't recover. But all in all, Alex won the belt. Hopefully he fights Jamal Hill next. I would love to see that fight. I'm not a guy that makes picks or anything or sells bets online or anything like that. I do have my own bias, but I don't like to make picks in the sport of MMA. Anything can happen. So, but I will say, I think Jamal Hill beats Alex Pereira. I will say that. In my opinion, Alex has fought some really good guys. Obviously, he became a 2-division champion. I think Jamal Hill is just a little bit slicker, a little bit better. He's a little more well-rounded. And Jamal Hill did an interview saying, I'm not going to take Alex down. I'm not going to do jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to wrestle him. I think I can knock him out. And my initial thought is I believe that. That's kind of a crazy thing to say because, in all honesty, when we saw Alex go up to fight Jan Blachowicz, we saw Izzy do it. And we saw the wrestling was just too much for Izzy, and he was on bottom most of the fight. I thought something similar would happen to Alex, but we saw Alex winning the grappling exchanges. That's probably because he trains with Glover Teixeira, who's obviously a 205 and an insane grappler. I'm sure they're getting a lot of grappling work in, but I think Jamal Hill's going to be the guy to beat him, in my opinion. I think Jamal Hill's never really out of place. He's never out of position. He has crisp striking, and he's really clean. And he probably hits harder than probably anybody Alex Pereira has ever faced. I mean, you could argue, him and Yuri are 1-1, but Yuri, we saw in the beginning of that fight that his leg was hurt very early in that fight. So obviously you're going to lose your footwork. You're going to lose your power. And I think obviously he would have done better if his leg wasn't compromised. But it was compromised because of Alex Pereira. He knows how to take the power away. And he knows how to get into these striking exchanges that he excels in. So I think if Jamal Hill can correct the leg kicks and address them from Alex Pereira and he doesn't get his legs hurt, I think he has a little bit better footwork. I think he's probably stronger and faster, which is crazy to say considering the guys Alex Pereira has beat. But just my initial thought, I hope this fight gets announced, and I believe Jamal Hill can be the guy to beat Alex Pereira. Coming up this weekend, we got a fight night. I'm trying to put together a fight companion with some of my coaches and teammates. We got Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. That's an exciting matchup for these two because it really dictates how the middleweight division is going to go. You know, both these guys, Brendan Allen and Paul Craig, they're on their way up. Paul Craig has beat really good guys. Obviously, has outstanding jiu-jitsu. Brendan Allen has beat some really good guys. He has fantastic striking. His grappling is fantastic as well. I give the edge in striking to Brendan Allen, and I give the small edge in jiu-jitsu to Paul Craig. So it really just depends on where this fight takes place and who can really initiate their game plan better than the other one. I mean, all these matches coming up are great matchups and a real chess game. So I'm not going to make a pick. I think it just depends on where the fight goes, which is super exciting. I think there's a lot of anticipation behind this fight. You got Jake Matthews fighting Morales in the co-main event. Morales is 15-0, and we've seen Jake Matthews beat some real monsters. That fight is super exciting. Morales is a minus 310, which is a little insulting. He's never fought anybody like Jake Matthews at that level. But Matthews is super good. We saw him fight somebody on short notice in their UFC debut. And in Darian Flowers, and Jake Matthews got stunned in the beginning. It wasn't looking good for him, but he came back and won. So Jake Matthews can battle adversity. Morales is super good. He's super constant and very technical. And I'm excited to watch this fight. Hopefully I can get a fight companion put together this weekend and get some of my more expertise friends on there, and maybe we'll break it down before the fight. But you got Chase Hooper fighting Jordan Levitt. Chase Hooper is a big favorite in this fight, which honestly I'm a little surprised by. I know he obviously is very good submission artist. He has really good jiu-jitsu. Jordan Levitt, I think he's a little more well-rounded. We've seen Chase Hooper struggle with guys that are stronger than him and better striking. So I think Jordan Levitt probably is a little stronger than him. They kind of have close to the same experience, and I think Jordan Levitt can get it done. Of course, it really, again, just depends on where this fight takes place. Jordan Levitt is a little more well-rounded in my opinion, so I think he can put Chase Hooper where he wants him and probably gets the finish. I think Chase Hooper isn't going to be able to outmuscle Jordan Levitt, which really, when your skills are so close together, that's kind of what it boils down to. Either way, it's an exciting matchup. This weekend's going to be a good fight night. Hopefully we can get a fight companion put together. They announced some fights this weekend. They announced some fights coming up. You got Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, which that's an exciting matchup. I didn't think Dricus du Plessis would get past Robert Whittaker. Granted, he called out Izzy after that, but now Dricus is getting the middleweight title shot. It's just going to be against Sean Strickland. I don't really have an initial. I'm not leaning towards a certain person initially because I think Dricus is still surprising people. He was kind of under the radar for a while. He's still shocking people, and Sean Strickland is as well. He was a big underdog against Israel Adesanya, and it's going to be an exciting matchup. I can't wait to see that fight. who knows what's going to happen? You know, they're both really good at what they do. And I have no idea where that fight's going to go. I'm just going to be excited to watch it. I know they released Sean O'Malley versus Cheeto Vera. That's a super exciting fight. Obviously, a rematch. Cheeto Vera has done very well after beating Sean O'Malley. And obviously, Sean O'Malley's a champ. He did very well after getting defeated by Cheeto Vera. Both those guys are great dudes. I think Sean is going to be able to use his range like he always does in his footwork. He's really slick and really fast. But Cheeto just kind of has that stalk you down, hunt you, and then end up landing that one KO power on you. So that fight is going to have a lot of anticipation behind it. I'm kind of leaning towards Sean O'Malley just because in this head game of MMA, he knows how to win. He's very good at his game plan, as we saw against Aljamain Sterling. And he has that KO power just as much as Cheeto Vera does. So two very exciting knockout artists matching up again. It's super exciting to see. I'm super excited for all these fights coming up. I'm going to try and do as many fight companions as I can. It's kind of hard getting everybody together, but obviously this isn't a huge podcast like the other ones are that do fight companions, but that's why I'm trying to stay persistent, get as many listeners and get as many experienced MMA fighters on here as possible, and most of all, entertained. So just stick with us for the long run. Like, comment, subscribe to help the algorithm. And I'll try and crank out as many breakdowns, recaps, and fight companions as I can. That's my goal for the next 2 years, to do as many as possible and see where we land. I'm going to shoot for the stars, and hopefully we can grow this thing a little bit. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions or message me. Our Instagram is Public Enemies Pod, at Public Enemies Pod on Instagram. Follow me on there, message me, ask me any questions or anything you want to know, and I'll get back to you. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thanks.